We are going to make a trip to tropical land today, creating this retro, beautiful cuff bracelet made of lucite components and Czech glass beads and little metal spacer beads as well. The shape of the components are very architectural, so you can play with them by itself, so you can create a whole bracelet just with the components together. But I believe that a good design needs to have good, interesting textures combined together. That's why I decided to use glass beads and metal spacers. So we're gonna work with a piece of stretching cord. I have like 1.5 foot of stretching cord, and don't be really cheap on the cord because I always recommend to work always with more when it comes to string material, more than really need. We're going to string the component first, the oval component, and then I'm going to start adding the bracelet, the spacer beads, and the glass beads in between them. So I have an oval slider, then I'm going to bring a spacer bead. We're using this little flower to keep on that tropical vibe. And now I'm going to start adding the beads, the glass beads, onto the stretching cord. Then I add a second bead cap. Then I bring the the hourglass shape of the lucite component. You can start seeing that it's going to really start coming alive, the colors together. And I'm going to do an entire row. One side first, you string all the components and then you tie the string material, and then you're going to have to do the second part. Another bead cap. We're using this flower shape bead caps to keep everything vibrant and tropical. At the same time, this component does have a retro vibe as well. So, and we have more colors, and all of them work really nice together. Another bit cap. This is a very easy project, but again, the components can be used for a necklace, can be used even for earrings if you want to do some kind of a more bold and extravagant hoops, and give you like really nice, because the variety of colors are really, they really bring you to this fashion forward look. So I'm going to use another one. Oh, and by the way, I'm using 4 of each. I'm doing like I would say that a fairly large cuff that pretty much would fit a between 7.5 to 8 inches bracelet. But of course, I recommend you to, size and see. You might need just 3 of each. You might need maybe just 2 of each. You need to size and see how many of the components. We sell in packages of 4, so you get 4 of each of the shapes on our retail package. Another of the oval, you can see the color. It really has this cool, actually this is great now for our season, although it's a tropical line, but this color combination really has a very chic fall look. Then I'm going to add my last lucite component in the last bead caps, and one more glass bead. So you can imagine that this could be actually a necklace if you're not adding anything on the bottom, right? So you could just add a chain or a cord towards to the back and you would have a necklace. But today we're making a cuff. Now we're gonna just tie one side of your fantastic cuff. And there is no, a lot of people asking me if there is any trick. I would say my trick to tie stretching cord is I pre-stretch. When I finish the knot, I just do an overhand knot and then I stretch it once that knot is done, and then I add a second knot on top. And then you have, so you can see here that first the top portion would be like the top portion of the bracelet is done. Now we're gonna string everything, we're gonna just repeat over the same pattern to do the bottom part of the bracelet. Okay, now I'm gonna start stringing the second row of beads. And one thing that I personally like to do is that I don't like to start on the same area. Like I'm gonna start, I could have started on the other side and have the second knot here, but I want the second knot to be on the opposite side of the first knot. So let's do first, let's string to the slider, then we start bringing our components. So we have bead cap, flower bead cap, we have another glass bead. Sometimes you need a little, force a little bit away the string material into these beads. But it's the natural nature quality of the string itself when you work with a stretching cord. You can use a stretching cord that's thinner if you want. Either I like to use 1mm size because I feel like that's more, it creates a more safe, secure piece that's gonna have long, you know, like a nice longevity. So 1mm is my favorite size when I come up and I create stretching bracelet. But I know some people who like to use 0.8. Whatever makes you happier. But you'd think that not make you happier, but needs to make, you know, the design to work. Here I'm having, I believe I'm stringing my last set of beads and bead cap. Then we're gonna do the same. Now you can see how beautiful, you know, the shape of your cuff is really rich. And then we're gonna do the same. We're gonna do an overhand knot. And you can also, another thing, you can also always pre-stretch before we start forming your knot. Do it. Try to make, and there is no trick, you have just to do your knot and see, because you don't want to pull one part too tight, you know, tighter than the other one that you already did. So you have to look at and see if the shape is pleasant to your eyes. So here you have it. So now I'm going to glue the knot, both knots, and this is the glue that I suggest you to use with stringing cord. I'm sorry, I meant to say stretching cord. You don't need a lot, just like 2 dabs of the glue on top of your knot, and you let it sit. I would say let it sit, do not wear in less than 24 hours. But I'm going to show you a little trick to protect your knot. Okay, so now I just have to trim, and I'm going to add the crimp covers. Okay, the reason that I'm using crimp cover is pretty much to hide that knot. If you're using a component that the hole is big enough, in reality you could pull that knot into the component. I think that's a little bit risky, and I don't want to ruin my job and start over again. So I decided to use crimp covers. You know, they were originally created or invented to cover the crimp when you do like stringing using like stainless steel stringing material. But in this case, I just used to hide the knot, you know, because I think it gives that nice finish. Of course, you need to make that as part of your design. So okay, actually you can handle hold the crimp cover with your crimp pliers, but you can just slide over like I did. And then I'm just gonna close it using the external jaw of the mighty crimper. The reason I like to use the mighty crimper, and because the size of the bead I'm using is 5 millimeters, is slightly smaller than the size of the bead. The bead is 6 millimeters, so that's gonna just naturally, you know, flows really nice. And then now you could wait 24 hours to trim, but you know, I want to make this pretty and show it finished for you. So let's trim here, one side, and then let's do the other one. And remember, you're gonna need 4. I'm gonna show you why you're gonna need 4. Although you just have to hide 2 knots, but you need 4 because you need to make that part of your design. So people don't know that they were there really to hide the knot. They're gonna think that, oh, it is part of the design. So again, I did the same thing. So I cover, and then I went over, and then I used the external jaw of the crimp plier to close the crimp cover over. Then I'm gonna trim again. But now to make it really design work, you're gonna add, there is no knot, but you're just gonna close the crimp cover over the stretching cord, and immediately it's gonna make sense. Trust me. Here, so you have one here, and then you add another one. Then you add your other crimp cover on this side. Yeah, it can be tricky, but you know, it's all part of the nature of you doing yourself, creating your own design. Crimp cover again, closing your crimp cover. Make sure you do not smash your crimp cover. It's easy to do if you don't have a really good control of the pliers. If you do, you just have to try to open that crimp cover and cut it and replace it. And here you have your cuff. And now we're going to show you how to add an extra pizzazz onto your fantastic lucite bracelet. See those components? I just add Swarovski crystal flatbacks onto them. So the coolest thing is that because of the way that the surface is, the flatbacks are a perfect addition for these components. So, and that's what we're going to be doing now. So first we're going to work with E6000 glue. Then I'm going to dispense a little bit of the glue inside of this cup. You don't need a lot, you just need really a dab. And remember, every time when you're adding glue, you're adding flatback crystals onto a component, you need to have light hands and try to have as finesse as possible. Otherwise, your gluing result is not going to look good. And you know, we need that to look fabulous. It is okay to be homemade, but it's not okay to be handmade. Is that right, or is the opposite? I don't know, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is that let's make it ourselves, but let's try to refine the technique so it looks as it was done professionally on a fabric, you know, by a factory. Okay, and sometimes we have these strings that follow you. You don't need that. So let's do again on the other side. And then immediately after, we're going to apply the crystals. And we are using the crystal katana tool, It's a pickup tool for crystals. So if you want to apply flat backs on everything or any type of surface, this is the best tool in the market. And we have it. So I'm going to do the butterflies on the bow tie / hourglass component, and I'm going to put them on going on opposite direction to make it fun. You can use always the metal tip of the crystal katana to adjust and to, slightly press your crystal flat back onto the surface. Make sure it glues well. Now I'm going to bring this fantastic shape created by Swarovski as well. It's the ellipse shape, and it fits perfectly, adds so much elegance and sophistication to the component. So we're going to use 2 of them right on the curved edge. It's almost like, again, you can use the metal tip of the crystal katana to press your component your crystal onto the component. And then you have it. So if you decide to create a bracelet, a cuff bracelet that has a little bit of flat backs, a little extra sparkles, you should do the crystals first. You glue the crystals onto your components first, and after that you do what you have just showed you. You string all your components with beads or without beads onto a stretching cord, and then you're going to have a fantastic, very elegant, retro chic bracelet.